Hello, everyone. I'm Ben, your daily trader. We are missing Kagan today, but I know I promised a video on retail deception for the support and resistance. However, I have something a little bit more special for you guys today, and it's called liquidity injection inducement. Now, what makes this very special is that, I don't really see that many people using this type of injection in the market. I know that a couple other traders have their own variation. However, this one was found by me before SMC was even a thing, right? Like this was before 2017. This was an indicator I had made for me, right after BTMM actually, from someone that I hired on, what do you call it, Fiverr, pretty much make this indicator for me. But the indicator really isn't needed. It does have a little bit of criteria that one normally wouldn't see with the naked eye. Um, However, it's not to say that you absolutely need it. So let me go into the anatomy of what liquidity injection inducement actually is, right? Because I can promise you, it doesn't matter. You could scour every little part of ICT's page. You could look a little bit at WWA's lit, doesn't matter. I promise you, they're not going to have the same criteria that I'm about to show you, right? Um, I contemplated whether or not I should give this away on YouTube. But at the same time, I figured I'm like, all right, well, if you guys back test this ideology enough, you'll eventually understand how to use it and or how to spot it, without my indicator, right? Um, let's get right into it. Let's get into the basis of what a liquidity injection is. Now, I'm not going to give every single detail that I give my mentorship students because that would be unfair for them. I got to keep some things for my mentorship, right? But let me get into the basics of basically what liquidity injection inducement is, right? And what I discovered with it. Generally, after a strong imbalance, right? And I would use the rule of three or the rule of four, right? Say we have 3 or 4 strong bearish candles coming into the market, right? Regardless of time frame, it could be the hour, 1 hour, daily, right? It doesn't matter the time frame. All you need to know is that there is a linear amount of bearish candles or bullish candles going in the same direction. Now, after we have seen an imbalance, what I like to call a true imbalance in the market, I generally want to see the candles after this imbalance develop a range, right? So after there's been a lot of bearish candles coming in a row, right? After this bearish candle, right, I'd like to see maybe a bullish candle come in, a bearish candle come in like so. And what does that create? That creates the injection, right? This is what we call the liquidity injection. I'm going to make purple here, right? What is the ideology and what am I basically trying to show here, right? Well, we can understand that a lot of selling momentum has entered the market right here, right? And directly after all this selling momentum came in, these buyers came in the market, right? So in a way, we are making support right here. And then when we come up and sellers come into the market, we are making resistance. In reality, this is what we call the injection of the market, right? Now, once we have this type of injection come through in the market, what we want to see is the manipulation of this range. For example, if price were to either come up to here or up to here, right? This is what we call inducement, where buy stop orders are getting triggered here, sell stop orders are getting triggered here, right? So what are we looking for? A POI above or below, the injection for us to either enter long or short. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go over my complete edge here, all of my criteria, but I can tell you guys that if you are to practice this enough, back test it enough in your own time, you do not need to purchase anybody or even my course. You don't need to purchase any of that, right? If you want to fast track your progress, obviously, it would be beneficial to come to me. But I'm one of those people who really didn't rely on a course or anything like that. I really worked for 6, 10 years, right? 6 years to find consistency, 10 to really, really compile everything together into a really good system, right? It took me a lot of trial and error, in order to get to where I was. And I would say In the long term, you're better off doing it yourself than learning from anybody else, right? Trial and error is your best friend, right? And you're able to develop kind of your own edge and system through that. But that is the basis of what a liquidity injection is, right? So hopefully you all can understand the basic anatomy of how this works. I want to get into the charts here because I want to show you how cool this is, how exciting it is, because it really is truly something that is just amazing in the market, and it really shows where price is getting manipulated at its finest, right? All right, let's go straight to the daily chart here. Take off these fractals. This is my indicator I use to help me find, these true imbalances in the market. Is the indicator absolutely needed? No. Is it helpful? Yes, but it's not needed, right? Let me show you what I mean by injection and these imbalances that occur in the market, right? When I have this yellow imbalance come directly into the market here, right? Like I was saying before, I want to see the next couple candles after this imbalance kind of show me my injection. Now, what I always tell my students, right, is whatever we start with, we must end with, right? Considering that we're starting with a bullish candle here, we must end with a bullish candle down here. Why? Because I know that when price came up to here, resistance was being made. And then when buyers started to get back in after the selling pressure, support is being made right down here. Right? This is something that structure cannot find. I just want to clarify. This is something that most people I feel like do not understand in SMC trading, or if you can even call it SMC trading, right? Now, if ICT has gone over something like this, I don't want to, I have no idea if ICT has done something like this. I haven't learned from ICT. So if someone wants to correct me in the comment section, feel free to go ahead and do that. Because I'm actually unsure as to whether or not he teaches. This is just something I found on my own, right, through my own backtesting experience and just through a decade of looking at charts. Like, it's truly what it is. But anyways, it creates this box, right? As you can see, we have this injection here. When I drag it over, what do you guys notice? Here is the manipulation to the lows. We pop right back up. Here's the manipulation to the highs. We pop right back down, right? Everybody wants to learn how to ping pong price, right? Well, this is how I do it, right? I'm not using any of the fancy injections any of the fancy inducements that, Lit or WWA or ICT are using. I'm just kind of using what I've discovered on my own here, right? I do use aspects of, what ICT, Lit, and WWA use the same way I use aspects of retail and BTMM, right? I kind of combined a bunch of material together into my own unique system here, right? And it's really helped me tremendously. Anyways, what happens after we induce these lows and highs is that we come and we induce these highs again, right? We expand, right? This is what I call the expansion of liquidity, right? Now, as we drag this across, what happens, right? We had buys coming into here. We had sells coming into here, right? And I want to go over entry criteria with you guys, but perhaps I might do that in another video. I want to show the thinking behind these injections. Here we come in, right? We get a whole day worth of selling. It does look like we did not reach back to the bottom of the expansion. However, we can still expand to the top. Again, right? And as we drag this over, look, we induce the highs, right? And then we start shorting off again. And as I keep dragging this over, what happens? We induce the lows, and now we can start buying again. And the process just repeats over and over. Expand this up, drag it over, and now we can start selling off again. And the same thing just happened today. We expand this injection out one more time. We drag it over, right? And what does that give us? Another buying opportunity right down here, right? There are very specific entry criteria that I use, right? They do get it very complex. However, this is the basis of what a liquidity injection is. Now you're like, Ben, you're on the daily, right? Anyone knows that the daily chart is generally the easiest to trade, or not necessarily the easiest, but in terms of identifying direction, the daily chart really is your best friend. Notice as we have one of these sweeps such as here, we could have understood that our intraday bias would remain short. Same with, after we swept these highs here, we could have looked for shorts anywhere along these days as well. Right now that we have swept these lows here, it's safe to assume that we're going to buy up till up to here, this inducement, that expansion, right? Everybody's seeing REM, ping pong price, well, this is how he's doing it. He's just waiting for those, what he calls major inducements in the market, or at least I believe that's what he calls them, right? Major inducements. I guess this is my variation of it and or way of seeing it. As you can see, I'm not using structure points, like what other people are using. Now, there are other ways to draw out this injection, right? And as you can see on the daily, there are injections within injections, and that's when we get into the concept of external versus internal liquidity, right? As we come here, right, look, we started with black, right? We must see some sort of gray come in, ended with black right here. That pops in an injection, and as you can see, right, we can see the manipulation that came in here, and it is likely at this point that we would have gotten hit BE. Well, we have to understand at the same time that internal liquidity is not as probable as external liquidity, but it still adds confluence, right, to the shorts right here, right? And we're going to see this constantly happening over and over and over again. Let's jump into the 4 hour. If you think you can just ping pong high time frame like that, wait till you can use it in the 4 hour, 1 hour, 15-minute, all the way to the 1 minute. These injections are happening on every time frame. It's fractal, just like how market structure is fractal. Liquidity also has its same level of fractality, right? Let's come all the way over here, right? And look at the amount of noise that is coming in with my indicator, right? Now you can see it's not just simply 3 candles coming in like there is here. I did code something very special into this, or I didn't code it in. The person I hired coded it. However, there's another feature that I included that is able to identify these injections a little bit more clear. Let's come here, and this is where all the amazement is going to start to be like, wow, and heads are about to be shook, right? After we have this large purple imbalance here, right? We understand a lot of imbalance has entered the market, right? That's the key thing. Here's a bunch of imbalance that kicked into the market. We started with a black candle. Here we ended with a black candle. That means that our injection range is like so, right? What can you guys already notice about this injection? We can see that there is a slight manipulation right here, right? That allows us to just run. And how do I know that these buys are super probable? Well, my imbalance was to the upside. So this must be the liquidity buildup, right? This must be the stop hunt that continues the move, right? And this is where it's going to start to get interesting, right? Now, there are rules to how we use injections, right? And I can tell you right now, we would not have looked for shorts right here. Hopefully you can see it already as to why we wouldn't be looking for shorts here, but we would not be looking for shorts here. Anyone who's my student knows that we are not going to expand the box upwards, but we are going to continue to expand the box down. And as we bring it over, right, here's a larger piece of manipulation, right? And we could have caught the buys here, right? So we would have caught buys here, right? According to the daily chart, right, we would have had sells back to here. If you remember, our first level of injection was right here, right? And we hit sells right here. Here we have another true imbalance coming into the market, right? Start with a black candle, and with a black candle, that means all of this is our inducement. Now notice what happens, or our injection, when we drag this across again. There's that same manipulation occurring in the market, right? I want people to understand POIs can be very subjective in SMC. I wanted to create a system that was objective, right? Where there is no guesswork involved. You simply know where the manipulation is going to occur. Now, is it a 100% win rate? Absolutely not, right? I would say that my win rate tends to be anywhere from 65 to 70%, right? If I'm trading the best trades possible, maybe 80, right? And if I'm being super aggressive, sometimes 60%, right? It really depends on the style that I'm wishing to, carry out. Anyways, here we see that we've manipulated the lows, right? And what does price do? It buys right back up again. And we also understand we can drag our injection down now and drag this across. Cool. And later you see, funny enough, we could have started buying on that outer part of the injection again. But now let's look at something more internal here, right? hopefully I got a lot of heads, being like, wow, this this is some cool stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean, when you're looking at the market for 6 years, once you see something, you really can't unsee it, and it just starts to all click. The neurons in your brain, literally, the synapses just start firing, and you start seeing it over and over again. But let's repeat the same process again here, right? Here's this imbalance that enters the market, right? We start with the black, and if I were to go on bar replay, this wouldn't have painted yellow yet. This would be black, right? So here would be our injection. Now here's everyone's head about the shake again, right? There's that slight manipulation here to the low that allowed this pop to happen, right? From this impulse, right? So here we would have entered buys. Now you're also wondering, well, there's an impulse here too. All right, well, we can also include that also, right? Black candle, and with a black candle here, I know that this is my range, right? And look, we drag it across. Here's the manipulation to the tops here. And this is where we go short. And you're like, oh, how do we catch this down here? Well, no problem. We just, drag out our injection a little bit more, right? And we drag that across and we induce these lows, and looks like price starts to hop back up again. And you're like, Ben, well, how do we get these over here? Well, no issue again, right? Like this expands up. It doesn't look like we quite, sweep it. We don't sweep the liquidity, but that's okay because we have this impulse right here that still allows us to tell us that after these two gray bars, here's where it ended on the gray bars, considering that there's black in between it. This is now our injection, our internal injection of the outer injection of the most external injection. And this is actually where we start to go short again. And then same thing again, right? This drags down, drag it across. Again, more manipulation of the lows, we get a slight little pop. And perhaps internally here, we could have hit more sells into buys. This is how I ping pong, right? And I personally believe it has more accuracy than what most people are teaching out there. I don't want to toot my own horn, but when you find it yourself, it really does make you happy. Especially when you put a lot of time into it. Anyways, watch this as I expand this, right? This injection across. We didn't think that was cool enough. That's all right. We'll get right back in up top here. And you're going to see this happening over and over and over again. I have a whole entry criteria system, right? And you can ask some of my students. You will see me hit 1 to 20s, 1 to 30s, sometimes every other day. Now, I'm not hitting them daily. The market doesn't always give daily 1 to 30s, 1 to 50s. But you'll see me get them at least once a week, right? And as you all know, if you're hitting over 10% in a week, that's very good, right? Anyways, we watch this expand out here, right? And if we drag all this across here, we can see again that gets manipulated and we start to drop. This also expands down to this, right down here, and the expansion happens again. This expands up to here, and yet it combines with the daily, and now we get a drop here. And you're probably like, what about all this? Oh yeah, well, we can get all this as well. Come into here, purple imbalance, black candles ending on black here. That designates this to be our range, right? From here to here, drag it across. We can see the manipulation of these lows here, right? And that's allowing us to buy up, right? Now, trust me, it gets even crazier in the 15-minute. And I will say you may need my indicator for it, right? Because as you can see, here is a complete sequence of black candles, right? Whereas these 3 yellow candles right here have a special occurrence to them, right? My indicator is not for sale, by the way. I know a lot of you might want to be having it after this, but all I can say is this: back test where these inducements are occurring, right? And you'll understand what these 3 candles or sequence of candles actually means. It's not as simple as just a sequence. It truly means the market is injecting liquidity. There is another fundamental key factor I'm putting in to the code here that goes beyond, technicals, right? And it's extremely important when it comes to understanding at least quantitative trading, high frequency trading, all those other aspects of trading, the manipulated aspects of trading, arbitrage, or, mean reversion. This isn't arbitrage or mean reversion. It's not that high tech, I wish, but it's betting on that ideology. And as you can see down here, right, you can see on the lower time frames, once we manipulate those lows, right, we tend to pop, especially when we manipulate those lows with what I call liquidity run, right? All of these things I teach in my mentorship, right? And if this is something you want to learn, right, this my style of algo trading, right, then I highly recommend you come in because I'm not accepting everybody at this point. Right, I'm keeping my style niche because I don't want it to saturate. Um, Other than that, does it get more in depth? Absolutely, but hopefully this gives you guys a good taste as to what injections are in the market. I really was contemplating as to whether or not I should show you guys this because I know that this isn't anywhere else on YouTube. If it is, send me the link, get me in contact with that person. I'd love to meet them because I really don't see anybody else using this style. Now, if there is a style out there that is finding the same inducements but differently, well then I wouldn't call it the same thing, but the criteria, sure, it might be similar. Um, but again, what is the criteria and pretty much what I'm looking for here? I'm looking for a very strong imbalance, right? I'm looking for a bullish candle to then end on a bullish candle that then creates our injection. And then once we have our injection, it acts as inducement, and we want to look for the manipulation of the highs and the lows. And why are injections important? Because they find the inducement areas, right? They act like inducement that structure cannot find, right? Structure, every high and low, sometimes is a little bit too subjective. While using liquidity injections, well, now your trading has become a little bit more objective. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you do want to get in contact with me, please give me a DM on Instagram at seisners.trading.journal. If you want to learn a little bit more about how I trade, my algo style of trading, then definitely go click on the Discord link there and give me a DM in Discord. But other than that, I absolutely love the support. It really does motivate me to make these videos. And I really hope these are some help. I really do feel like I give away a lot more gems than what most people usually do, right? And I'm giving it all out. And that's like some of it for free. Obviously, I don't want to give all of it out for free. For one, I don't want it all to saturate. And two, I've worked on this for over 6 years to get consistency. And it's my 10th year, like really looking at the markets. It's just hard to just give up for free. And I hope people understand that. Um, but other than that, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.